Hi, I'm Mark, and in this video I want to answer a viewer question about how you move from just learning scales into actually playing solos. So this question came from somebody goes by the name of Guitar Outdoor Adventure and More. Interesting name. And they left a comment on one of my videos and they said they've learned scales, they've practiced them, but how do you go from just knowing those scale shapes to actually playing solos? And this is a really great question, and it's a much wider topic, something that I'll probably cover in a bit more depth once I've got my new studio set up and I can do a slightly longer video and actually use like backing tracks and loops and things to play over, because it is a really great topic. But I wanted to give just a quick video to kind of give my initial impressions or an initial answer to that question. So scales teach you which are the good notes to include in your licks. That's kind of like learning your vocabulary, but still, you wouldn't tell a story by just randomly spouting out random words as they came into your head. You actually phrase things and you work them into sentences, and you have pauses for dramatic effect, and you change your intonation and you make things louder and quieter, and you slur words together and speed up at certain times and slow down. And it's kind of the same way with constructing a solo. So what you want to do to make a good solo is you want to learn lots of licks. So great, you've learned scales. Scales are brilliant, and the more scales you know, kind of the better you'll become. But scales in themselves are just one tool in the whole arsenal of what you need to actually make a solo. So the next thing to do then is learn licks, because you're going to create your solo by phrasing one lick after the next after the next. So I want to talk about just two things quickly about licks, or two ways to get you into playing licks. The first one, and this is the one that I learned, this is the way I learned, is that I learn by example. Actually, in all walks of life, whether it's painting, writing, programming, whatever I do in life, I learn by example. I see what somebody else has done. I think, oh, okay, I can learn from that, and then I can put my own twist on it. And I did exactly the same with learning to play guitar. And that's why on my channel you'll see, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 videos or something like that of example solos, where I take a solo and I'll say, okay, this solo is comprised of 9 licks. Here's the licks, and I'll show you them broken down, because that's exactly how I learned. And the idea is that you learn those licks and they kind of become part of your toolbox, and then you can use those licks and you can use those as they are, or you can use them as example to come up with your own licks. So first thing I would advise is definitely learn as many licks as you can, and those videos, those other lessons that I put out are actually a really good way of doing that. The second one is you want to create your own licks, and this is where I really wish I had my studio working and all my gear, because this only really starts to make sense if I could play over a loop or a backing track or something, but I'll give you the basic theory anyway. Creating your own licks, learning those scales is great. So let's say I know my A minor pentatonic. That means that I have a bunch of notes there that I know are going to sound good if I'm playing, say, a blues in A, right? Or I'm playing over an A minor chord progression. I know those notes in that scale are all going to sound really good. Now, that's not to say that I can't use other notes, because actually, if you know how to use the other notes, they can sound really good as well. But you've got to be very careful, because in some context, those other notes are going to sound a little off. But the notes in just your A minor pentatonic, they're always going to sound great. So they're your good strong notes. So you want to make licks from those. And if you're just starting out, definitely those are the notes that you should be focusing on. And certainly when I started, I just wrote licks only using notes in the scale. And that's a good place to start. It's not where you should end, but it's a good place to start. And when you're playing a lick, think of it like a phrase. So it's like when you talk. You're going to say a bunch of words, and then you're going to stop and emphasize one particular word. You've made your point, and you're going to end. And it's kind of the same way when you play on guitar. You're going to play a number of notes, and then you're going to end on one. And you're not just going to stop and kill the note dead. You're actually just going to hold the note. And the best note to end any phrase on is always the root note of the key that you're in. So if we're in A minor and we want to play a lick over that, we're going to use our A minor pentatonic. And the best note to end on is an A, and just hold it and shake it. And if you know your A minor pentatonic, you've got 3 of them. You got one here, you got one here, and you got one there. That's in first position. In second position, you've also got that one there. So you're going to make a lick that's going to end on one of those notes and hold it. Okay, that's how you come up with licks. Now, it's not the only way you come up with licks, and it's not all you should ever do. You shouldn't end every single lick with that, with the root note. But as a way of writing your first couple of licks and just getting into it, that's a really good tip. It's just to play a number of notes and then end by holding the root note. Also, hit that root note on the beat. So you need to be tapping your foot, play along to the music, and again, this is where I really wish I had a loop pedal or something that I could actually illustrate this with. But when you're playing, you want to be playing and then hit land on the beat, so tapping your foot, so when your foot comes down, land with your playing the root note on the beat and hold it and just give it a little shake. Okay, so that's like a really, really simple beginner's guide to how to get into writing your own licks. Use the notes in a scale, use them as little phrases, end each phrase by landing on the root note, on the beat, and holding it and shaking it, and then play your next phrase. It's a really, really simple formula. It's not the only way you should write licks. If you did that for every solo in every song, it's going to sound a little boring after a while. But as a way of just starting out, it's a good thing. So 2 tips for you there. Steal, or learn by example, as we otherwise call it. And the second one is write your own licks, just coming up with little musical phrases ending on the root note on the beat. Okay, I hope that was useful for you. I'll be recording a few other of these short videos while we're in the process of the move, and then hopefully, you know, normal service will be resumed. Well, I've got some kind of more longer in-depth lessons coming. Thanks for keeping the comments and the questions coming in. I'll try and answer as many as I can, some of them in this kind of video format, some I'll just answer on YouTube. Thanks to the Patreons, thanks to everybody who's subscribed. I'll see you again soon.